Welcome to the Division Basics video. To do this video, you will need a sheet of paper. Please write your name on this sheet of paper right now. When you finish the video and have completed the work, you'll want to turn this paper into me so that you get credit for doing this work. Now, how to use this video is you listen for some instruction or for the problem itself. You stop the video, and while the video is stopped, you solve the problem in the best way that you can. Use your own reasoning skills. Once you have finished the solution, you're going to restart the video and check your solution with the solution presented on the video. If you need to make corrections, please go ahead and make corrections on your sheet of paper, but most importantly, please learn. So the first division basic that we want to talk about is this great connection that exists between multiplication and division. So in multiplication, we know we have some number of groups. There's some amount in a group, and we want to know how much there are all together. So we multiply the number of groups times what is in each group to find out what there is all together. So for example, if I had 3 groups of 4, then I would of course have 12 altogether. That would look something like this, so that I have 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, 3 groups of 4, and when I put all of those groups together, I am multiplying so that I have 12 altogether. In division, we simply undo what happened in multiplication. That's the relationship between the two. So we start with the all together. We start with a quantity, and then we're going to split that quantity into equal groups. And in division, we want to know how many groups we can make or how many are in each group. So if we use our example from above, we start with the 12 all together, and we split it into 3 equal groups. And of course, there's 4 in each group. That would look like taking that group of 12 that we have up here, and we split it back into 3 equal groups, so that there are 4 in each group. So you see this great tight connection between multiplication and division. Now when we divide, we consistently use this connection to go back and forth between multiplication and division. The other basic to keep in mind is all of the great place value knowledge that you have. So if you had 3 groups of 10, of course that would be 30. And if you had 3 groups of 2 10s, which would be 20, of course that would be 60. And you might think about that as here is 1 group of 2 10s, here is 2 groups of 2 10s, and here is your 3 groups of 2 10s. So when you multiply, you want to know how much there is altogether. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And of course, if you think of that as division, then you start with the number, altogether number. So you would start with the 60, thinking of that as altogether, and 60 split into 3 groups would then of course be the 1 for one group, 1 for another group, 1 for another group, the next one, 1 for one group, 1 for the second group, and 1 for the third group. So that puts 20 in each group. So that's why 60 divided by 3 is 2 tens, or 60. Of course, it also works with hundreds, so that if I had 3 groups of 100, that is, of course, 300. If I start with the 300 all together, I could do division. 300 divided by 3 is going to put 100 in one group, 100 in another group, 100 in the third group. So that means 300 divided by 3 is 100 inside of each group. So this great place value knowledge, you want to hold on to that, because it's going to be very important as you start to divide these larger numbers. Okay, so in class we have been using the partial quotient strategy because it helps you see the true size of numbers and also see the actual action that has happened when we do this operation called division. So let's go ahead and think of 48 as our whole, and we're going to split 48 into 4 equal groups. So go ahead on your sheet of paper. This is problem number 1. Solve the problem, stop the tape, solve the problem, and then restart the tape to see how you did. All right, so I have 48 in all, and you can see my 48 place value blocks off to the side, and I'm going to split them into 4 equal groups. So I'm actually going to start with my largest place value. I'll start with tens, and there's 1 in one group, 1 in the next group, and 1 for this group, and then 1 for this group. So now I have the 4 groups, and there's 10 in each one of my groups. So of course that becomes 4 groups with 10 in each group, and that's 10, 20, 30, 40, of course. So that 40 I have taken out, and I have placed it into equal groups. So it is finished. So I'm going to take it away to find out what is left after I have split apart that 40. And of course it's the 8. I subtract. 8 minus 0 is 8, and there's my 8 ones off to the side there. And now I'm going to split the 8 ones into 4 equal groups. So there's 1 for that group, 1 for that group, 1 for you, 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 1 for you. And now I have split apart all of my 8, and it made 4 groups with 2 in each group. Of course, I've split apart all 8. 4 times 2 is 8, and I have nothing left to still split apart. So we can see right now there is a 10 and 2 ones in each group. So 48 divided by 4 is equal to 1 10 and 2 ones, which is 12. And you can think about that as there is 12 in one group, or you can think of it as there is actually 12 in each group. So that is the action of division explained with our partial quotients and using place value blocks. Now let's go practice it with a few problems. Okay, this is problem number 2. And we are going to have 96 in all. And we want to split 96 into 3 equal groups. So off you go. Solve problem 2 on your sheet of paper. Stop the tape and then turn it back on when you're ready to see the answer. Okay, so we're going to split 96 into 3 equal groups. So I look at my largest place value, which is this 9 tenths, and I know that 3 times 3 is 9. So I know that 3 times 3 tenths would be 90, 9 tenths. So that 9 tenths, that 90, I have already put into equal groups of 3, and I need to find out what is left. What do I still need to put into groups of 3? So 96 minus 90, of course, is just plain 6. And now I've got to split the 6 into 3 groups. I know that 3 times 2 is equal to 6. So that would put 2 in each group. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I have put that 6 into equal groups, and I have nothing left to put into equal groups of 3. I have 30 in each group, and I have a 2 in each group, each of the 3 groups. So that means that 32 is in each group. Okay, that's it. Hope you did well. Ready for problem number 3. Okay, we are ready for problem number 3. In problem number 3, we have 78 items that we want to put into 4 different groups. So, go ahead, solve this problem on your sheet of paper, stop the tape, turn it back on when you're ready for the solution. Okay, so we have 78 in all, and we're going to split it into 4 equal groups. So again, I'm going to look at my largest place value, and I'm thinking about that 7 tenths. All right, 7 split into 4 equal groups. Well, I can only put 1 10 into each group. So it would be 4 groups of 10, which is, of course, equal to 40. So now that 40 I have taken out of my whole and I've put it into 4 groups. I'm finished with it. So let's find out what we still have left to put in equal groups. So 8 minus 0 is 8, and 7 tenths minus 4 tenths is 3 tenths. So now I've got 38, and I'm thinking of multiples of 4. So 4 times 5 is 20, so I could go with that, but I might go a little higher. 4 times 6 is 24. I think I'll do 4 times 6. So 4 times 6 is 24. So I've put 6 in each one of those groups, and that took care of 24 more items, and I need to find out what do I have left to still put into equal groups. 8 minus 4 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1, so now I have 14 to still put into my 4 groups. I know that 4 times 2 is 8, that's 16. 4 times 2 is 8, so I could do that, but I know 4 times 3 is 12. So I think I'll put 3 in each group, so 4 groups of 3, and that would be 12. And I have 2 to still put in equal groups. But when I look at the idea that I'm splitting this into 4 equal groups, I only have 2. So I cannot put 1 more in each group. It is less than my divisor, which is 4. So that is what we call a remainder. So 2 is the remainder. I did make 10, 16, and 3 is 19. I did put 19 in each group. And then to deal with that remainder, I could say I've got 2 of another group of 4. So my answer is 19 with a remainder of 2. Okay, hope you did great, and we're ready to move on to problem number 4. All right, so we have moved on to problem number 4, and I have 57 items in all, and I am going to split this into 4 groups. So put problem number 4 on your paper, solve it using the partial quotient strategy, stop the tape, and then turn the tape back on when you're ready for the solution. Okay, we have 57 that we are going to split into 4 different groups. I know that I look at my largest place value, which is the tens. I have 5 tens. So I know that 4 times 1 is 5. So that means that 4 times 110 would be 40. So I can put 10 in each group. That takes care of 40 out of my 57 pieces. Then I subtract to find what do I have left to still put into groups of 4. So now I have 17. I'm thinking about multiples of 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 is too big. I don't have 20 items to split into 4 groups. So I'm going to go with my 4 times 4. So 4 groups, 4 times 4, 4 groups with 4 in each group would be 16. So I've put 16 into the groups of 4, and I subtract to find out what do I have left. Well, I have 1 left. So that's that remainder again. It's less than my divisor, so I cannot make another group. So it is a true remainder. Now let's see how many groups I did make. I made 10 groups of 4, 4 groups of 4, and that would be 14. And then the remainder, I had 1 out of what I needed was a group of 4. So 14 and 1/4 is my answer. Now, we can use this relationship between multiplication and division to check division, which is really a wise idea. To check division, you take those 4 groups of 14 and go off to the side and multiply that. 4 times 4 is 16. Regroup the 110. 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 110 is 5. That's 56. And then I have this remainder. So it was part of my original quantity, so I've got to add that in also. 6 and 1 is 7, so 57. So that checks out. It is the same as my dividend. So 14 and 1/4 is the answer for this problem. All right, so checking work is important, and I'd like you to start doing a bit more of that. Okay, it's time to make the numbers a little bit larger, so let's do that with this problem. I'm sure you can handle it. This is problem number 5, and we have 568 in all, and we want to split that into 4 equal groups. Now, you need to think about that hint of, let's start with the largest place value, which is hundreds. Can you make 100 groups of 4? Off you go, stop the tape, solve the problem, turn the tape back on when you have finished. Okay, so as I'm splitting 568 into 4 groups, I start with this largest place value, which is this 5 hundreds. So can I make 100 groups of 4? I certainly can. So 100 groups of 4, and that would be 400. So now I have taken 400 out of my whole, and I've put it into groups of 4, and I need to find out what do I have left. So 8 minus 0 is 8. 6 tens minus 0 tens is 6 tens, and 500 minus 400 is 100. So I have 168 to still put into groups of 4. Now I cannot make another 100 groups of 4 because I don't have 400. So I'm wondering if I could make 50 groups of 4 because I like to multiply by 5s. That makes it easy. So 4 times 0 is 0, and 4 times 5 is 20. All right, I would need 200 pieces in order to make 50 groups of 4. I don't have 200 pieces. I only had 168. So my 50 groups of 4 is too large. So I'm going to erase that and try a number that is a little bit smaller. If I look at my first two place values right here, this is 16 tens. And I know that 16 is a multiple of 4. 4 times 4 is equal to 16. So I think I'll do 40 groups of 4. 4 times 0 is 0. And 4 times 410 is 1610. So that's 160. That takes care of a lot of them. So I subtract the 160 to find out what do I have left to still put into groups of 4, and I have 8 left. And I know that 2 times 4 is 8. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. So I have nothing left to put into groups of 4. So I made 100 groups of 4. 40 groups of 4, 2 groups of 4, so that is 140. Ooh, bleh. Let's fix that. 142. So if I had 4 groups, there would be 142 in each group, or it could be that I have 142 with 4 in each group. Either way, I want to multiply in order to check my work. So I multiply the divisor, the 4 groups, times my quotient, the 142. So 4 times 142, 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 4 tens is 16 tens. Regroup the 10 tens. 4 times 1 is 400, plus the 100 I regroup would be 568. And that matches my dividend. So, hooray, we did it correctly. On to problem number 6. Okay, so now we're moving on to problem number 6. And I think I'll get white instead of that pink there. I have 648, so we're working in the hundreds again. And I'm going to split 648 into groups of 3. So, copy this problem down on your paper, solve it, stop the tape, solve it, and turn the tape back on when you have finished. Okay, so I've got 648 that I'm going to split into 3 groups. Well, I know I could have 3 groups with 200 in each group, because I know that 3 times 2 is 6. So 3 times 200 is, of course, 600. I want to take that 600 out from my total because I've already got that into 200 groups of 3. And I need to find out what do I have left to still put into groups of 3. All right, so I have 48. I'm going to look at my largest place value again, the tens. I got 4 tens, so I know 3 times 1 is 3, which is a little less than the 4 tens. So I think I'll go with 3 times 1, 10. So 3 times 10, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3 tens. So that's 30. So I have put 30 into my equal groups. And now I subtract. 8 minus 0 is 8. 4 tens minus 3 tens is 110. Now I have 18 to still put into my groups of 3. That is a multiplication fact that I know. I know that 3 times 6 is equal to 18. So I'm putting 6 in each group. When I subtract, I have nothing left to put in equal groups. So I have 200 groups of 3, 10 groups of 3, 6 groups of 3. So 216 groups of 3. Now, to do my check, I go off to the side and I say I've got 216 in each group. I have 3 groups. So 3 times 216. 3 times 6 is 18. Regroup the 10. 3 times 1, 10 is 3, is 4 tens. 3 times 200 is 600, 648, which is the same as my dividend. So I must be right. We're good to go. Great job. Only one more. Okay, this is problem number 7, and this will be our last problem today. I'm going to increase my place values, though. I'll make the number larger. So I'm going to start with 6,484, and I'm going to split that into 4 groups. All right, now think about starting with your largest place value. Stop the tape. Work the problem on your paper and turn the tape back on when you're ready for the solution. All right, when I look at the total of 6,484, I know that 1,000 is my largest place value, and I know 4 times 1 is 4, so I will just simply start with 4 groups of 1,000. And 4 times 1,000 is, of course, 4,000. Subtract to see what I still have left to put into the groups of 4. 4 minus 0 is 4. 8 tens minus 0 is 8 tens. 4 hundreds minus 0 is 400. 6,000 minus 4,000 is 2,000. So now I have this very large number of 2,484. I could just guess and say, oh, I like multiplying by 5s. So I think I'd start with the 5 times 4 is 20. So if I want a 20 right here, I have to have the 4 times 5. But now what place value is that? That is 20 hundreds. So it would have to be 4 times 500. So now you can think about 4 times 0 ones is 0 ones. 4 times 0 tens is 0 tens, and that makes that 4 times 5 is 20 in the right place value. It's in the hundreds, or 2,000 or 20 hundreds. So that's pretty close. I'm good to go with that one. Let's subtract and see what we have left to still put into groups of 4. So 4, 8, 4. So I have 484. Oh, that one's easy. If I'm making groups of 4, I can put 100 in each group. So 4 times 100 is 400. Subtract, that leaves 4. 84 left. Now when I think about this largest place value, that's my 8 tens. And I know that 4 times 2 is 8. But it's got to be 4 times 2 tens because I want 8 tens. So that's 20. 4 times 20 is 80. And I still have 4 left to put into my groups of 4, but that's easy. 4 times 1 is 4. So I can only put 1 more in each group. 4 times 1 is 4, so I'm all finished. And now let's find out how many I have in all. That's 1,500, 600, 620, 621. So 1,621 6 hundreds, 2 tens, and 1 1. So 1,621 is my quotient. Now I'm going to go off to the side. I've got 1,621 in each group. Multiply that. I'm doing my check now. Multiply that times 4, the number of groups. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 6 is 24. Regroup those 2,000s. 4 times 1 is 4,000 plus 2,000 is 6,000. So 6,484, that's the same as the dividend that I started out with. So the answer must be correct. Good job. I hope you did well. If you need some more practice, go ahead and replay this tape. When you redo problems, sometimes that is what helps you learn, just doing the practice of the same problems again. I will have another video available, though, that you can move on to the next one.